upgrades.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk about Gundam. Mobile Suit Gundam, to be specific, the Witch from Mercury. I have here probably one of the biggest Gundam fans that I know.
Yeah.
Keaton Seven. What's up, brother?
Not much, man. Not much. Happy to be here. It's an interesting show. It's interesting. It's very, very different from other Gundams that I've watched, but very last scene of this first half of the season gives it that welcome back to Gundam potential that I'm used to. Can't have Gundam without war crimes, you know.
Yeah, so ironically, you guys have probably already seen our review. There was just me for the first 6 episodes. From the first episode, I was kind of like, man, this is just so different. I was kind of like, what kind of Gundam show really is this? I was like, is this like beginning stages, like before it becomes, is this an offshoot of what, it could be? I just was really intrigued because it's like, okay, they're battling, the battles decide, decisions, like pivotal decisions. And then you got this one girl that's from Mercury that just happens to have a Gundam, but that's being outlawed. Like it just the atmosphere is just so different than what I've seen.
And it's funny because at first, like the fact that all these battles like are taking place like at a school, like the duel system, I thought that this was going to end up being something kind of closer to like Gundam Build Fighters, where it's just tournaments. There's nothing like as much at stake. It's more of like a game. But as it went on, it kept getting a little bit more serious and a little bit more serious. And then, of course, by episodes 10 through 12, you realize, okay, there's actually some high stakes here. What's about to go down? Because the story is still pretty contrived. Like all these giant corporations, and they leave it up to the kids to duel to see who's in charge and all that. It's still super contrived, but I'm really interested in seeing what they do with the second half of the series now that they gave it a real factor. I love the animation though. The animation is really clean, but the violence hadn't really been there that from Gundam. It's like suits getting cut in half, people getting sliced in that, like like that brutal like wartime violence that Gundam is really known for. With honestly, every single one of them has child soldiers. You know what I mean? Like that, they really hadn't hit on that aspect yet.
Right.
But now we're here. The only thing I'm worried about though is we're just now getting here, and I think the second season is only like another 11 or 12 episodes. The second half of this season, I think it's only one season show, so I think it's only going to be like 20, 24, 25 episodes total. They're going to really have to go no huddle for the second half of this season. Like I'm really interested in seeing what they do with it.
So this is where I'm a fish out of water. I've not seen anywhere near the amount of Gundam content that Keaton has.
Yeah.
Um, and so for me, like you said, like visually, this looks beautiful. Like it is gorgeous. Like I was really surprised because it still feels like it's that flair of 2D animation for every single character, but the
Hmm.
atmosphere around them is three-dimensional and it's clean, it's polished. There are characters that when they're making decisions, they're saying stuff, like they sound like kids, like it's not like they're conditioned already. The atmosphere around them is kind of having them about to get to that point, but they aren't just there yet, or we think they're not there yet. There are certain characters you start to understand are hiding a lot of things.
Yeah.
The chick with the blue hair threw me completely for a loop. The Earthling chick,
Yeah.
the mechanic. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
um, Down to the guy that his dad was trying to orchestrate a coup. He kind of exiled his son away, but at the same time, like he
But
cared about his son. He loved his son. And then all of a
yeah.
sudden for, the son to eventually get humbled, of course, by the main character, start to fall for the main character,
Yeah.
and really wanted to be there for the main character, but he couldn't. All for him to, in the last episode, to kill his freaking father.
That's what I'm
Dog,
saying.
that joint, it's weird
Brutal.
because
He didn't even know it was him.
he didn't.
That
He
was
was
what
just
was
trying to
so brutal.
survive. He was like, I'm not gonna die today. I just want to survive, and then the dad says something along the lines of like, "Oh, good, you're still alive.
Yeah.
I was looking everywhere for you."
Yeah.
And I was like,
That's
gut punch. Like,
and
come on,
that's
homie.
and that's the thing. Up until this last episode, it didn't it like the last, I'll say the last two episodes, because at the end of episode 10 you kind of get the hint like, okay, it's about to get real, because there was a little bit of violence here and there that we saw in like that epilogue episode where you see the mom escape with her when she's really young and all that. Like you get that there, but you don't get it a ton throughout this series at all. But then at the end, it's like, okay, now this feels closer to home, because you have that trauma there. You actually have a lot of death suddenly happening.
Yeah,
You have rivalries being made. You have um, mid-season upgrades because the aerial gets like rebuilt and it looks a lot. It looks more sinister. That
right.
when it gets rebuilt, it looks more sinister, and I think it's a direct reflection of what we're going to see happen to these children. It's like, okay, it's not a game anymore. From here
Right.
on out, bodies, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually really dug that though,
Oh
because,
yeah,
you know, with the ones that I've seen, I'm just thrown right into it. I don't get to see them be deconstructed.
yeah.
There's a anime that I really enjoy. It kind of also has mobile suits in, ironically, but it's just a little risque at times. Called Darling in the Franxx. I think I recommended it to you. And through the course of the beginning of it to the end, like these kids are changed into being what society needs them to be, for good or
Mhm.
bad.
Right.
And it's kind of a big reflecting on this one, which the main character. This is the weird thing about the main character. She's so bubbly
Yes.
and how do I put it? She's not desensitized. She's conditioned. She's conditioned a certain kind of way that we don't see because the facade is she doesn't have any social
Right.
skills. She doesn't
Right.
she didn't know anything but doing the right thing. She doesn't
Yeah.
know interaction except for honesty and but then when you start to see small little things in the cracks, right?
Yeah.
Like with her mom hiding all these kind of things and her mom setting things in motion to be exactly where she wants them to be. And
Hmm.
then even, you know, her bride's dad, like knowing certain stuff. And I was just like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah.
And then I think this is where it's probably going to be the second half of this or second season, whatever it's going to be, is we're going to see what it looked like for her to train to get to know Ariel as a sister. Because I have to figure she can pilot this thing without even really blinking or thinking. Like every single pilot I've seen in this show that uses the Gundam, they are hurting. Like their face is like masking, and whenever she's piloting, there's never that. She almost like has a sixth sense in communication with it. Like
no, she 100% does. She's on a different level from everyone, and the thing is, she's been challenged just because she is it's like kind of inexperienced, I guess you could say, but at the same time, it's like the way that she adapts, she is powerful, but we've always just seen her quirky and goofy, and in reality, that's there, but it's because everything else is ice cold. Like she can, like she's able to stay bubbly throughout. But there's another side, and I'm excited about the second half of this season because that other side, we got a quick glimpse of it at the end of episode 12. And it just leaves, I mean, it was an absolute shock factor. And I know a lot of people were kind of upset with like the gratuitous violence that happened suddenly out of nowhere. But me, I was like, sweet. Here we go. Honestly, because like the thing is, Gundam has always been about war. It's always like the main storylines, especially like the Universal Century specifically. It is war. It's all war. After Colony with Gundam Wing and Endless Waltz, war. The Anno Domini timeline with that's Gundam Seed and Seed Destiny. It's all war. And so this felt very different. This felt very different because I'm like, okay, they're at a school and they do things with duels and they're just kids, but their parents' companies, like, it didn't make any sense. And honestly, it still is really, really contrived to me, but I am glad it's actually getting beyond this, oh, let's have a duel to see who has to do each other's homework and whatever they're fighting for, right? It's actually moving past that, and it's like, okay, the stakes now are very, very real, and you're starting to see that this mom that is like super loving to her daughter actually definitely has some ulterior motives and honestly probably wants revenge for what happened to her husband, you know?
Yeah, I actually question whether or not the main character is actually a human. There's something about the way that the mom she said, I think it was either the second to the last episode or the last episode. She was talking about her prosthetic. And she was kind of equating it to like, yeah, just because, this is different doesn't mean I'm not still the same exact, And I was kind of like, why did they keep referring to each other as sisters? My daughters. And I was like, maybe that was exactly what it was. Because the thing is, you think about the other guy that has multiple different clones, because that first clone, he loved her. The first clone really loved Solidia, and like they sacrificed him like he was a lamb. Like I was like, it was cold, and I felt so bad because she had no idea, and I don't even know what she's gonna do when she actually finds out that they've been lying to her. But it was something about that made me believe like, okay, they're not beyond cloning, they're not beyond using kids, they're not beyond like, making it a symbiotic relationship between the mobile suits and kids. What is the step beyond? She's got Gundam data, and she's saying that she's trying to, like expose it to the world, but really she's using them to mass produce it, really, ultimately. It sounds like to me, like it seems like at the end of the day, yeah, the business aside, but I think that she's trying to mass produce these, and she knows that her two assets, her daughters, are the key to that. Now, for me, that I really loved though was the kids trying to not go the route of war. Them, going and using it for medical purposes. I was like, this is very fascinating. Like, I was like, how are they going to make this work? Like, because I look at this show as kind of like a side universe thing, or at least I did until the very last few seconds.
It's in a universe of its own. So right now, it's not like Witch from Mercury is not connected to any of the other ones. It's in its very own universe. So it is its own thing, which is why I've been waiting for it to unfold and really get back into like the things that Gundam is actually known for, which is like the brutality of war. Like that's the message that Gundam has always sent. Like they've always been different themes throughout the series, but one of the main themes that sticks around is the absolute brutality of war. And we didn't really get that yet until this midpoint. And I'm upset. I'm a little upset because honestly, a lot of Gundam shows normally run for about 50 episodes. And I was hoping after as how slow this one started that it was also going to run for 50 episodes, and I'm hoping that they'll announce that like after this first season there is going to be a second part, because this has started like slow enough that I don't know how they'll flesh everything out in another 11 or 12 episodes.
So this is weird. So I thought the last moment said season 2. It said part 2. Is that what it said?
I think so. Yeah, I think this was like the first half of the first season, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But I know because and the thing, so a lot of Gundam shows, they'll always have like a mid-season upgrade, and that's what happened with Ariel. And then of course they also premiered 2 new Gundams with those the girls from Earth that were attacking.
Right.
And so I mean they're setting it up. They're setting it up for something really, for some cool stuff here. I want them to be able to flesh out, because they've given us a lot of questions. They've given us a ton of questions, and you don't know how relationships are going to be here on out, because like that post credits scene in season 12 really lets you know, okay, so it's about to get serious.
So I was going to ask you a question about that, because again, I've seen very few Gundams, right? And most of the deaths that I've seen in Gundams, like they were in a ship, or they might have been crushed, or it might have been an explosion, or I personally don't remember seeing a ninja just crushed by the hand.
Oh no.
Like I've never seen anything to that nature. And I think that what's so striking about it, and I can understand why people were thrown off. It's first, they set us up with the whoop wop with the dad getting killed by the son.
Yeah.
Then, her dad, is wounded, and she's basically dying. There's blood everywhere. And then I was like, okay, our main character, she's in the firefight. She's battling. She's gonna win. It stops. But I was kind of like, okay, she's gonna swat this guy out the way, or like grab them. But realistically, grabbing them would have crushed them. And swatting wouldn't have necessarily stopped the bullet.
Right.
And so it's terrible to say. Like, I get why she did it. It's the simple fact
it was her reaction.
Right.
Yeah. It was the reaction.
And this is the weird thing about it.
The way she's just smiling in a puddle of blood, like, I'm such a klutz. And like,
like there's blood everywhere. And that's why I'm believing like she may be legit an android. But then that also is thrown off because she just witnessed her mom shoot 3 people she checked her mom on it, like, you're a murderer. You did this, you did that.
But
And
then the mom told her,
she justified it.
yeah, the mom justified it. And the thing is, I Suletta's she is a child. Like, she's a child with adult skills. Like, that's the thing. Like, she has the piloting skills, which, I mean, we see that in Gundam all the time. It's like child soldiers that are just the ultimate weapon. And
Mm.
I think she still is, but at this point, the only thing we've seen is her just in these duels. But I think that the mom actually did raise her as, if necessary, to be an absolute stone cold killer. And what's interesting now is she still the protagonist of this series, or is she the villain? Right? Because after you see this and the way she just coldly just this she killed this person brutally with a smile on her face like that, like, it's one of those things where it's like, if I were her classmate, I'd be terrified of her at this point, right? And so I'm really
Yeah.
interested in seeing where they go with it.
Yeah, I mean it's a hard ask because at the end of the day, that's her freaking groom. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like, yeah, that's her crush or that's like her friend or her best friend or bestie. Like, no, this is a chick that she basically said, like, look, I trust you all the way.
Yeah.
And it's a hard. I still think she's got to be still the main protagonist to a degree
Yeah.
because everybody else around her is some garbage. Like, either they're deceitful or they're naively being used. One or the other. Like, every other person, even down to, her bride. Like, she seems as though like she's understanding humanity better through her
Hmm.
relationship with her,
Yeah.
but she's not a good person. I mean,
Right.
she's not what I would call the main character. This is just interesting because I wonder if the only reason why she felt it okay to just smush somebody with just that moment is because her mom said so.
Yeah.
Because of that one interaction they just had just then, it's like, oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. Mom told me I got to go and step up to save everybody. Like, it's that's why I say that she's not desensitized. I feel like she's conditioned. Her mom
Hmm.
has conditioned her mind that whatever she says,
Hmm.
whatever way it looks,
Agreed.
this is okay. And I don't
Ag-
know the levels to that. That's the scary thing. Like, if she said to her mom said to her, look, yeah, your bride's dad is, he's about to do something really terrible. Like, we really need to do something about it. She might be able to convince her. Like,
and we
whatever her mom says.
Yeah, and we can't forget too that in that very first episode zero they did, which was weird that they did it that way, but in that very first episode zero they did, her Suletta's bride, her dad was the one that ordered the attack that killed, that killed the Suletta's father and all the other people that were there. Like, her dad was the one that did that. And so I think the mom is actually playing a
Oh,
game
it's
of
revenge.
chess.
Oh
Oh yeah,
Lord.
she's playing a game of chess right now, and it's all revenge. I really do believe that, because I think that they're going to end up doing a like 48 to 50 episodes. I think at the end of this second half of this season, they're going to announce that there's a
A
season
second
two.
too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I kind of feel like that too.
because so far we spent 12 episodes building up to what we saw
Yeah.
at the end there. And I think there's so much more to flesh out, because there's gonna have to be some backstory on what's been going on between episode zero to get them to this point, like her training and her backstory. Why is it she's able to handle the Gundam so effortlessly while it's killing other people that try to? uh they're gonna have to flesh it out. They're also gonna have to flesh out like who the big bad is, because right now there's so many different factions and there's so many different characters, you don't know where they're gonna fall in, because we don't
Right.
even know where Suletta's gonna fall. Suletta's gonna fall in now. Like after that, and how the bride's like terrified of her. I keep forgetting Marin, something like that.
Marin,
Yeah,
Marin,
Marin.
yeah.
Like she's terrified of her now, and so how's she gonna react to the person she loves most suddenly being terrified of her, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting because then it's gonna be a question like anybody that, once you get married, you you have to kind of put away old ways and your perspective changes. Like you're gonna be like, oh wait, maybe this wasn't the best way to think.
Right,
Maybe my mom,
right,
did me a disservice with this situation because,
right.
and honestly, she really don't know. The other thing with the in credits is they keep showing her as a little girl,
Hmm.
and we haven't even really seen or witnessed that.
Right.
Um, I'm with you with that. It doesn't feel like this is a one and done. This
Yeah.
feels like, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. Has there ever been a Gundam series that's been multiple different seasons?
Well, technically, yeah, because I mean, the original Gundam that started in like the late 70s, they are in the same timeline with things like Gundam Unicorn that just came out a few years ago. Like
Hmm.
all of those are connected in the same timeline and run throughout different spans, and you see a lot of the same characters, but then they also focus on different characters and different times of the war. And then things like Gundam Seed ran for 50 episodes, and then there was a sequel to Gundam Seed called Seed Destiny that brought back all of those characters, but also focused on a new protagonist.
Hmm.
Uh,
Interesting.
yeah, and so they did it that way as well. And so yeah, it's I do think they'll, and then Double O had a second season, and in between season 1 and season 2 they did like a multi-year time skip, so all the characters were a lot older by the time the second season came around.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
so it has been at around two seasons,
yeah,
depending
they've
on like
done.
like a
Yeah,
single based.
they've done it before, and they could do it with this. And I think they're going to have to at least give us a second season, because I just don't see them fleshing out a full, clean Gundam story in 24 episodes.
Right. Yeah, I'd have to fact check it. But yeah, no. I mean, I think the thing I like about this, honestly, is that it is so different. I
Hmm.
feel like I can breathe a little bit to get connected with some of the characters, like because they haven't formed into what they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like the best example that I can always give is the son that killed the father. Like I'm so intrigued by
Ugh,
his
that's
character.
brutal.
I have no idea where his character goes. Like
Yeah.
I can't even guess
Yeah.
because what is he supposed to do? Reconnect with the people that he knew in the past, or
Hmm.
is he gonna try to make amends and do something different? Is it gonna take him over the edge?
Yeah.
I really just don't know, but I love the fact that I care about these characters enough to see where they're going.
Yeah. It's going to
Um,
be interesting to see what happens next.
um, but yeah, what was your take on the Earthling chick with the blue hair? What is her name? Oh my gosh, it's Nika, right? Nika? Did I get that right?
I think so.
Okay. What was your take about her? Because she was like the nicest outside of, so I guess that was the crux of it. It was a foreshadowing. Suleto was, possibly, conditioned to be a certain way, but is she a double agent? Like, is she working against everybody? Because low key, the two people that were in those Gundams knew her straight up.
Yeah, it does seem like that. Like it seems like she's definitely a double agent. Like there's something going on. There's something going on there, and I'm like I said, I think it's just going to be some stuff we find out about later on, because even when the other guy that was dueling her in, I think it was episode 9,
Mm-hmm.
what's his Shadiq?
Right.
He was the one that like hired that was like hired the people from Earth to come attack and try to assassinate uh Marin's dad. And so
Right.
there's all kinds of plots taking place here that's going on. And so I'm really interested in seeing what happens next.
And see, that's what I was
Definitely.
saying. Like everybody's dirty, bro.
Yeah.
It's not even the chick. I mean, the chick with the pink hair. I think I might give her a pass because she's awesome. She's funny, but she's
Hmm.
also like being racially profiled all the time, and she's assessing people because she's from Earth and people don't perceive her a certain kind of way, and so she adjusts with that with her attitude.
Yeah.
But I trust her more than anybody else. That's the interesting thing. Um,
Yeah.
but
And,
yeah,
I think what we are seeing though, all these double agents that's popping up and all these ulterior motives that's coming out, it's gonna shift into the Gundam that everybody understands, and it's gonna go back to all out war. Like, yeah, we can pretend and have these little school duels and do all this stuff, but in reality, we know we're dealing with heavy weaponry here. And I think it's going to shift because in those last episodes, one of the things that they were shot by was real ammunition being used in space. They were just like,
right,
what in the world? Like, how long has it been since they've seen that? And essentially, the way I was thinking about it was if you were to see someone just like a country suddenly openly violating the Geneva Convention and
right,
committing like what's seen as war crimes, right?
right.
And I think that's what's happening right now because from the beginning it's like, so Gundams were outlawed, but no one's going to check these people that just has one and then
Right.
just started a company. Like, what you going to do,
Yeah.
right?
So, I mean, the other thing is like there's Gundams on Earth and nobody knew.
Yeah,
Like you got
yeah,
anti-Gundam weaponry that Shadika and his crew had with his dad's shot out. But the fact that these Gundam pilots are just there, I was just like,
yeah.
what is happening? And that's one of the things that makes me interested about Gruel because I really don't. I mean, they line him up to be a villain, but I don't see him being a villain.
He's one of my favorite characters in the show right now.
Right, right. I'm so invested in him,
Well,
and
yeah,
if
he's
you
yeah,
looked at the first episode, you would never think you would be.
yeah. He got humbled. He got humbled, and now he's in an even deeper level of emotional trauma. And
Yeah,
so he's I think he's going to end up being a standout character for for this show. And I I don't think they're going to make him a villain. I think he is going to be like one of our protagonists in this show, and I'm interested in seeing what's next for him. I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up with a Gundam at some point.
that was what I was gonna ask you. Do
Yeah,
you think they're gonna give Gundams to certain key characters on
yeah.
this, and who do you think they're gonna give a Gundam to
I think he'll end up with one. I think the guy that has all the clones, he's of course gonna end up
eventually?
having one.
Yeah,
Yeah. Shadiq, he might end up having one. But yeah, they're gonna introduce some more because I mean now we have two more added to the list that just got here from Earth. And so
right,
folks are busy. Folks are busy. They're like, yeah, okay. Okay. So she can have a Gundam, we gonna have some too. And it's going to end up being an all-out war between all of these different factions that are suddenly making weaponry that they don't understand.
right.
And what gives Suletta and her mom a leg up in this is that they do understand. They've been studying Gundam technology for years.
Right. So, what in the world? Yeah, I'm see talking about this actually makes me really excited.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think I had a really good time with it. I'm glad I finished it. I'm glad we got to talk about it.
yeah, definitely.
I guess on to part two or season two, whatever it come up may. Um, I would like to see a Gundam series like just continue on like four seasons or 3 seasons, honestly. So I can just stick with one. I want to, for me, like I can't go back and go. I could try, but it would feel like me going and trying to start One Piece from the beginning. Like,
well, yeah, and the thing with Gundam is actually they're pretty quick watches because outside of the Universal Century timeline, almost all of them are about 50 episodes. All of them are about 50. Gundam Wing was 49 or 50 episodes. G Gundam, 49 or 50 episodes. Gundam Seed was 50. Seed Destiny was 50. I think some of the Build series, which I'd never got into those really, but I think some of them are only even like 25 or so episodes. And so they're quick watches, and what's fun with those is it's a brand new universe, and so it's not set in the same it's not set in the same timelines as these other ones. So you just meet new heroes and you get their story and this world's story, versus if you really want to just like go through it, that Universal Century starting from like Gundam 0079 and going all the way through to, I think the latest one that came out was the Gundam Hathaway. I think I could be wrong though. I can't remember what came first. Hathaway. I think Hathaway came after Unicorn. But yeah, it's just Gundam is it's timeless. Like it is. They have giant Gundam statues in Japan. It is just a part of their culture, a part of their heritage, and they really do put their hearts into it because it means so much. It means so much to them. And so I've always loved Gundam. I love building the model kits. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I definitely think you should check out some of the other ones if you ever have a chance. Not that we do, because we're always covering new things. No one has time to go back and watch anything old.
So what's one that you'd recommend? Not Hathaway, because I think Hathaway is a movie, but what ones would you recommend? Like 3 to watch. If I've already seen G Gundam, I've already seen, of course, Mobile Suit Gundam, Gundam Wing. Yeah, I mean, of course, this, and then maybe 2 others. What would you recommend? That's a good.
Gosh, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people weren't fans of Seed, but I have a soft spot in my heart for it just because I really love the mobile suits in them.
Okay.
I actually really like the mobile suits in them, and so I really liked Seed and Seed Destiny. Gundam Unicorn was really awesome. Iron Blooded Orphans, that was another one. Now, Iron Blooded Orphans is dark. If I had to think of a Gundam series that was the darkest, Iron Blooded Orphans is up there. That one is pretty rough. I mean, it's called Iron Blooded Orphans, so I mean, you can.
Why does that sound so familiar to me? Is that on Netflix by any chance?
Yeah, it was definitely on. It was on a bunch of different streaming services. And it was, yeah.
That was the one that you said it had 2 seasons, right?
Did Iron Blood Orphans have 2 seasons? Yeah, it ran 50 episodes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it ran 50 episodes. But yeah, I would check all of them out. But yeah, they're cool. They're really cool watches. They're really cool watches, and I've always loved mecha. Like anything with mechs in them, I make a beeline for it, and so Gundam's always been at the top of my list as far as my favorite animes.
Yeah. Well, Keaton, I appreciate you for this. Thank you for your expertise. Hopefully you guys go and check out our other reviews that we're going to have coming up very soon. We're going to be talking about Attack on Titan, among other things that I can't reveal just yet, but we will be right back. Keaton, where can everybody find you on social media?
you can find me right here with Team JVS, but me and my friend Dr. Amelia Brown also run a podcast called Bat Therapy. You can find it at bat-therapy.com. We go through different comic books and TV shows and movies, and we break down the psychology of them. And we really love putting a huge focus on mental health awareness. So please check us out. We're getting ready to start our 3rd season. Really excited about it.
Yeah, definitely going to check that out. Definitely, yeah, we'll be back, you guys. We'll be back. My nose, sorry, I'm a little sick, but we'll be back. All right, guys. Peace, everybody. Filing off the top of